Today I'm talking about negotiating repairs or repair allowances when purchasing or selling a home. And I want to start off by saying that negotiating repairs is a sometimes difficult but a very necessary part of the residential real estate transaction process. There's customarily a termination option for the first 7 to 10 days of the contract, but that's negotiable. During this time, the seller does not have to fix anything, and yet the buyer doesn't have to purchase the home. So the buyer can terminate for any reason and get their earnest money back and only give up their nominal termination option fee. So during the termination option, the buyer has the opportunity to do their inspections and identify previously unknown safety issues or items in need of repair. There's customarily a termination option for the first 7 to 10 days of the contract process, but this is negotiable. During this time, a seller does not have to fix anything, and the buyer does not have to purchase the home. The buyer can terminate for any reason and get their earnest money back and only give up their nominal termination option fee. So during the termination option, the buyer does have the opportunity to do inspections and figure out whether there's any unknown safety issues or items in need of repair. If issues arise, and they almost always do, this is time for the buyer to request that the seller make repairs or have the seller offer maybe a credit towards repairs or a combination of the two. But remember, the seller is not obligated to fix anything or offer any credit, and the buyer doesn't have to buy the house. So in the end, the result is usually a compromise of some sort, but not always. The truth is that some sellers will not cooperate, and some buyers will have unreasonable repair requests, and they both will have their reasons, and the fact of the matter is that neither are right or wrong. So it's important for buyers and sellers to understand the process. Be prepared that surprises will arise with the condition of the home, and decide up front whether you want to cooperate. Just understand that repair requests are commonplace. It's common in my area to have buyers make reasonable repair requests for safety issues or major issues that come up related to the regular function of the plumbing, electrical, roof, structural, foundation, or mechanical aspects of the home. I've seen many sellers agree to $500 to $2,500 worth of repairs or repair credits. That's a great baseline. However, I've seen much larger accommodations by sellers that were justified when big ticket items needed repair, such as replacing a roof, HVAC, water heater, pool equipment, electrical panels, or correcting a foundation, to name a few. When issues arise, the question usually becomes whether the buyer has a reasonable expectations that items found in disrepair should be functional at closing. And there are hundreds of components in a home, so there's always something or many things in need of repair. So I usually ask buyers to pick their battles and focus on big ticket items. Or if there aren't any big ticket items, then consider asking for a repair credit to address a bunch of smaller issues. Sellers may be more inclined to provide a credit because it's easier than doing repairs. Plus, the buyer gets to control the quality of work. It is true that some buyers will try to hold sellers hostage by getting the home under contract and then trying to renegotiate the deal. But that is definitely the exception to the rule in my experience. And it is true that some sellers are unreasonable when they refuse to make repairs. Some sellers simply have an overinflated view of the value or condition of their home. And some buyers are under the false impression that a seller is obligated to fix everything pointed out on an inspection. While that can be true with new construction, it is not the norm with resales in my experience in my area. And sometimes a buyer and seller can honestly not afford to do the repairs, and that's why they may be unreasonable with their request or with their refusal to do those repairs. The fact is that every home and every sale is different. A seller may offer a great deal, but it's an as-is sale. And a buyer may offer a strong price and expect repairs. Whatever the case, just keep a big picture perspective and focus on your goals. Ask your realtor what's customary so you know whether the other party's being reasonable with their expectations. Try not to get your emotions too involved in order to make objective decisions. I've learned that a best and final offer is not always the best and final, but know when to agree to terms. Learn to draw boundaries and know when to say no and when to walk away altogether. Also, stay tuned to the risks of losing the deal so you don't lose sight of the forest for the trees and lose the sale altogether. When inventory is low, sellers may not be as negotiable. And when the market's slow, sellers may be willing to do more. It all depends on supply and demand. Just be careful of overconfidence, but also know when to be bold. I've seen some very smart, capable negotiators lose really good deals because they got stuck on a nominal issue or stuck on a subjective number that was really important to them, but insignificant to the transaction. And I've seen buyers and sellers make bold moves that offended the other party, and that blew up the whole deal. In some cases, one party was so upset, they'd rather the deal fall apart than do business with the other party to the transaction. Just remember that while you may leave emotion at the door yourself, the other party may act and make decisions emotionally. So be aware of who you're dealing with. One strategy is to communicate your expectations about repair requests up front before the contract is executed. Or you can wait and see what happens. Either way, repair requests are common on most transactions in my experience. And if you're a buyer, it doesn't hurt to make your offer based upon your understanding of the current condition of the home. Don't just assume that the seller will address repairs during the contract period. And sellers, if you're going to refuse repairs, be certain that it's worth the risk. The vast majority of buyers and sellers are reasonable. They're willing to compromise, and they care about other people. Most people want a positive experience for everyone involved, but people are also looking out for their own best interest. So it's reasonable to expect that they'll bargain to get the best deal possible, and they'll fight to get what they think is fair.